Hello, I'm Christina with The Turned Leg. I love to salvage, repurpose, and create and help others to do the same. And today, ignore the sun hat, it's beautiful out, so I'm taking advantage of being outside in my garden while the weather is nice. I also have spent a whole bunch of time working on my booth at Plaza Antiques Collectibles Mall, and I'm so excited to take you on a spring booth tour. Now, when I was working on my booth, I want to give you a little background information. One, I focused on color grouping things that like color. I'm also grouping things by what they are, like items together, and I made over my booth without any pre-planning. Now, if you want to know exactly what kind of pre-planning I do, you can click on a link to the video above and you can see how I usually plan out my booth. But in this case, it was kind of a last-minute opportunity that I could get into the mall when no one else was around and I could take advantage, make a big mess, and get everything looking pretty. So let's take a look at my booth. Welcome to Plaza Antiques Collectibles Mall. I have had a booth here since 2015, and over the years I have expanded. I now have over 1,300 square feet. And let's walk around and see the displays for spring. This first area is a kitchen area. Copper has been hot lately, so having copper right as people walk in has been a really good thing. Decorating at eye level is important, but you also want a welcoming entrance to your space. Much of the furniture in my space I have restored and or painted, like this china cabinet. China cabinets are great to group like objects. I love milk glass and it sells well and it always looks pretty. Now we're at one of the first displays that I've been really working hard at. I needed more space for my t-shirts. By the way, all of these t-shirts are available also on my website at shoptheturnedleg.com. I wanted a display so people could see the variety and also be able to find the size that they're looking for. So for now, this is the display I'm going with. I know I'll have to keep folding them very often, but I thought I would try something new. And opposite, we have my kitchen area, once again grouping like objects, roosters and chickens all in one area. And then we have the brownware pottery, and we also have the silver plated items. They just look better all together. Here's another example of grouping by color and theme. The green in the dresser kind of set the tone, and all of these pictures kind of sort of go together. As you walk a little further, you're going to notice much more color and vibrant pieces. That's because we're getting to the project area of the booth. On the right, where all of the vintage paint by numbers are hanging, is actually a display I built a while ago and was in the center of my booth. And I have moved it to this location. Let's walk around the front so you can see what it looks like. You'll notice there's space to the left of the dresser because an item sold right after I redid my booth. This happens a lot. In fact, as we walk through, there were a few other pieces that sold almost immediately after the booth overhaul. Behind that display, I also have salt wash and DIY paint that I wholesale. And this is the area where all of the finishes and little extras for DIY paint is located. I also sell JRV decoupage paper, and I created this new display so people could see the actual size of the paper. It is quite large. All of the paints and products you're seeing here too, you can purchase on my website at shoptheturnedleg.com. And I also sell JRV, which stands for Jamie Ray Vintage stencils too, and so I like having them close together, and I like having lots of displays showing people what they can do with the stencils. Maybe you're also noticing those QR codes throughout my booth. That links people to a video of mine giving them helpful hints on projects they can do. I also just found a bunch of vintage wallpaper I've added to this area too. This is my DIY paint intersection, which also has some important signage for contact information for me in my booth. DIY paint is a clay-based paint that is great for furniture painting and so much more. If you're not familiar with it and want to learn more, I have a bunch of videos on this channel that you can check out. Straight back is my Sweet Pickins milk paint display. I love Sweet Pickins milk paint for the chippy texture it can create. Once again, there are videos on this channel to tell you more about Sweet Pickins milk paint. And we've come to my salvage area. My slogan is salvage, repurpose, and create. So I love saving old things and having them available for my customers for their projects. I'm constantly working on this display area to keep it organized so people can find what they want. And of course, turned legs are an important part of the display. Opposite the salvage area is my new brush display I've been working on. I put a new sign up here. We just got the DIY paint brand new paintbrushes, so I wanted to refresh the area to make it a little bit more appealing. As we round the corner, we're going to go back into antiques, vintage, home goods, painted furniture items. And remember, I was doing the displays focusing on color. I was also working on some new displays, including this area by the window, which I created a trellis using 3 old doors and some ladders, very similar to the display I created in this video here if you want to learn more. The first area here is the pink display. And when I group my color displays, it's really that simple. I find items with similar colors and put them all in one spot. Opposite the pink display, we have the blue display. If you want to see how I made over this beautiful vanity, you can click on the link to the video above. And I'm still continuing to open up drawers and items in my display for more visual interest. And more like objects grouped together. The best part about redoing your booth by color display is the leftovers are usually all the same kind of color. In this case, the items were grays and blacks, and so they looked pretty good together, I think. What do you think? Comment down below. The next display is the green display. And here I've done something a little different with the bar stools. I've put them on top of the green dresser, and I've used a chair to display the prints. I also have my vintage postcards grouped together. Like the old photos, these really get a lot of people to stop and look, and you make sales. And you're going to see the beautiful crewel work at the top here. This also sold right after the booth redo because now people could see it a little bit better. On this new display, I've also attached a ladder out front. This is my yellow display. On the display, I put a beautiful quilt I found recently. It says Rapid City Friends on it, has a whole bunch of names. Your color groupings do not have to be big. These are all yellow items all in one spot. I also am constantly working on the back of the open displays being pretty. I've added this plant stand and wooden shoes to add interest. Luckily, I snapped this picture when I finished my display, because when I came back to my booth, this is what I've found. Items had sold. So luckily I had a few new items I could bring in and replace. If you are redoing your booth, be prepared for items to sell. Ironing boards are great to keep in your booth. You can always unfold them to fill in any spaces you have until you find something else. For spring, I always like to have a garden display, and so this is that area. I took my mannequin and put a festive apron on and a wreath. Different from a color display, this is a theme display. So everything has to do with garden and spring and growing and flowers is found in this area. Also, you'll notice there's height. You can see little areas of all different heights so that your eye can travel throughout the display. I love this basket display I've found. It's an easy way to add height to things, but I also love popping in my handmade signs in the display. If you have an open display, always decorate from every angle so there's always something to catch your eye. Back to the main entrance, and there's more kitchen items. Here I have dish sets that are all grouped together. In this kitchen display, it is a color display. Mostly red items were placed here, but there's also the theme of fruit, and it's just what I had available, and it seemed to go well with the red items. Now we're going to walk around the front part of the display. There are actually 3 separate entrances to get into my booth, and then people can kind of meander through. And I really like, as you look at each entrance, you can see all different heights and colors. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful. Now get out there to salvage, repurpose, and create.